The very first line of the Bitcoin white paper says a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. I was just reading literally this morning before this event that some guy took his daughter to Applebee's, had $10,000 in his bank account, his debit card gets declined, he checks his email, and his bank just decided to shut down his account with no warning. You have your money stored in the bank. You do not actually own your money. You are lending it to the bank. They are the ones that are in control of it. And so really what a blockchain is it eliminates that forced centralized control. It enables true ownership. Those are the overarching high-level goals of what a blockchain is supposed to do. What properties do we need to actually accomplish something like this? The first thing is that it needs to be open. It has to be accessible to everybody, not only to join and be a participant in the network, but also just to see what is happening. There can't be any gatekeepers that are allowing access to some or not allowing access to others. The way that the network actually operates, call it the consensus mechanism, needs to be as easily accessible to the most people so that the most people can contribute to the security of the network. The more you raise those standards for what's required to join and be an active participant in the network, whether as a follower node or as a miner, the more you're gradually starting to centralize that chain. Second property is it needs to be immutable. The entire point of having a ledger like this is that it cannot change over time. It's a permanent and perfectly true historical record of everything that has ever happened on that chain. Without that property, it's not a blockchain. It might be a peer-to-peer network, which have their own uses and are great, but it's not a blockchain. And this is one of the key things that makes a blockchain differ from other decentralized technology is this immutable permanent record. So it can't be changed. Once the record has been added to the blockchain, that's it. It should be there forever. It needs to be stable. If we're talking about something where we're trying to build a global economy on top of, it can't be going down all the time. It has to be stable and constantly running, and it has to be predictable in the way that it runs. It needs to be decentralized. We've seen a ton of projects come up that are basically just riding this hype train, but if you look at how they work under the hood, they're not actually that decentralized. They're raising those requirements that we talked about, or they're just flat out blocking people out of the network. And in actuality, they're really just a different model of the traditional centralized Web 2. They also have to be consistent. The rules need to be the same over a long period of time and for everybody. You can't have people coming in and changing the rules because it suits them. These properties right here are what Bitcoin is. But there are some potential downsides to this, which is where we see a lot of these other chains coming in to try and solve these problems. What are the criticisms that people generally give of Bitcoin as to why it's old news, it's dinosaur? Yes, it was the original, but we need to move on and create better tools.